Um, Everything that Mr. Montemera said is full of wisdom and full of our support. But today I talk about a more basic question, the question about government's political will to help agriculture. These points of Mr. Montemera are very wise. They're better than before, but many have been said before. I recall your memory to 2010. In 2010, for the first time in the history of the Philippines, there was a call to have 200 leaders from all over the country to stay for 2 nights and 3 days to look at the basic problem of agriculture. It was called Agri-Fisheries 2025. It was called by the Senate, then headed by Senator Pangilinan for his role there, and the executive, headed by the Department of Agriculture Secretary Alcala. It was called Agri-Fisheries 2025. It is now 2025. What happened in the last 15 years? In 2010, we had answers that they were not giving you. We have answers today. We had said that there are two main problems, and we want to call now your attention to those two problems, which is supposed to be solved today by two bills, the Bureau of Extension and the Bureau of Cooperatives. These 2 points were the of the main points in 2010. Let me tell you what happened since then. In 2010, we said that our extension was the lousiest in Asia. Why? Because you asked the question, how many were devolved? At that point in 2010, we told you. We told you it was 17,000 extension workers absorbed by the LGUs. There are two problems with that. The first problem is that what would happen to these people if they were not guided strictly? And history has shown what happened. Many of them did not do their work because the moment they went to the LGU, the mayors who were not too conscious used them for other tasks, and we proven that. And I call your attention today, sir, because for 15 years we've been saying this, but they always argue we must give power to the municipal and provincial. We agree. We agree. We support the new initiative of the Department of Agriculture in extension. It is extremely lacking. It is called the PAFES. We support that, but look at the results. There are practically very minimal results because of the points you made, which is number one, are there people? Number two, are these provinces really equipped to do what other countries do? Number two, today we heard from our director of ATI that there are about 13,000. But she said, in addition, 2/3 of them were hired in the last 10 years. 2/3. The LGU was done in 1997. Look at the people who are hired. They're not exactly equipped. They're generalists. They don't know the specific things that the Honorable Undersecretary Navarro has mentioned. It is a mess. It is a failure. So 15 years ago, it was raised. Today, we would hope it will happen. And while we have the details, if you don't get the root, which is the organization, the structure and resources, all these things is going to be no good, as it has been no good for 15 years. So that's the first point, the question of extension. Now, we law this very aggressive move, which we first time saw it in the history of 15 years. Secretary Tiu Laurel listened to us, and he said something. He said it, Mr. Navarro will confirm this. The people in the provinces and the municipalities do not have a real direct link with DA, and therefore they do things like political officer, messenger, etc. You look at it, and nothing has happened. So Mr. Laurel is the first secretary who said, we have 50,000 people, 10,000 will now go into the municipal provinces. That's fantastic because you cannot wait for the law. But how long will that last? You change the secretary, you change the thing. That's why your legislation, sir, is critical. We're fed up with these promises that do not come true and change with the changing political structure. So sir, your idea of Bureau of Extension is absolutely needed. And it was, as you said, one of the best in Asia, the most popular, and now it's the worst in Asia, right? Okay. You know, I have been head of ASEAN in other areas. I know Vietnam. I know Thailand. I know Taiwan. These guys operate their governance in a totally superior way to the way we do it, right? Okay, that's the first point. So, sir, as I told you, I won't get into details, but I want to say the test today is not the test of the details. It is the test of whether finally government will respond to to the two things we mentioned in 2010. It took 10 years from 2010, around 2020, when we started thinking of this provincial agricultural system. But it is terribly inadequate. We cannot blame the Secretary of Agriculture. We blame actually the governance, and I think it is the Senate whom we elected who can tell the executive what to do with the budget. But more importantly, sir, I'd like to let you know this. I think the Senate looks at the budget. They do not do oversight. They do not look enough at what happens to that money. So in DA, sir, it is on record. And it's something we've been fighting. We've been succeeding with Secretary Laurel for 3 years. COA, the study of Secretary Dara for 3 years, and our own PICAF has documented that there's been 30% of the money wasted through corruption or incompetence. Now, I'm with Mr. Montero all the way. I'm one of his biggest admirers. I'll let you know. This thing about looking at the project, I've been to the municipal and the province. I've been through those monitoring things. And it's only the first time that Secretary has gotten a system, thanks to Undersecretary Navarro, that will check it. Do you know they have no grant checklist? They give it. Ano, pinsan ka ng mayor. Ano, ito road to your house, not farm to market. Ganyan. Bulgar na bulgar. 3% binibigyan. Apat na walang pong nangyayari. For the first time yung nangyayari yan. Ngunit, hindi sapat ito. Gusto ko po yung Bureau mo extension na makikita. Secondly, cooperatives. Isa pa yan. In 2010, 15 years ago, we saw these people rising. I was in Israel. I saw the kibbutz. I was in Taiwan with my own research. And I was in Vietnam and Thailand doing things. And we saw small is beautiful. But unless it is organized, you're going to be lost in the global competition 15 years ago. So if it took 10 years for the to look a little bit at this extension mess, and it's really not enough. We like it, but it's not enough. As Mr. Montoya said here, we're not here to point fingers, we're here to help. But unless we point the finger at what to help, something may not happen. So I'd like to say, if it 10 years to do that, it took 12 years. 12 years from 2010 to do something. What happened, sir? Do you remember that the RCEP was here? You were not in the Senate. I was with SINAG, FFF, Alyansa Agrikultura, etc. And our alliance came up and we said, we're going to fight you 1 year. Okay. And my colleagues at DTI who know me as a cement guy, I headed cement in 6 countries for 12 years. They said, why are you doing that? We said, are you crazy? How can you open our borders when our agriculture is going to be killed by these guys when smuggling is rampant, when the agriculture money we have, which is 2% of the budget as compared to 4% of Thailand and 6% of Thailand, and 1/3 of it is wasted? How can you open the borders? So we stopped it. And as you will get from Senator Garda, they put in conditionalities which did not happen anywhere in the world. And one of those conditionalities was cooperatives. What happened? Thanks to Secretary Tiu Laurel and Navarro, etc., we now have this thing called F2C2, beautiful, farm to farm and fisher consolidation. Guess what? 1 hour ago in this hall, I talked to my friend whom I also admire. I said, do you know how that thing works? You know, before that it's zero. Now they had 140 million. Do you know how that thing works? He said, doesn't know. Why? We were together in that fight. And I said, why don't you know? Do you know the head is here? We'll call him. He's here. Hello, Dr. Nate. I like you. But I don't like the work because their entire thing, where the Thailand is not called Ministry of Agriculture, but Ministry of Agriculture and Cooperatives. From zero, 130 million. Mr. Oñate, please tell my friend I admire, how many people you have, and are they undersecretaries? Can you tell me? Well, I'm the only one. And how many people do you have? None. All COS. Oh my God, not even assistant division chief, not even, no, they're all COS. I've been to that office many times. That's why I'm said, sir, I can tell you details about things. I'm going to talk to you about your legislation putting in the rules that are stopping the good work of DA when they want to do things. They're all COS. And I talked to them, one of them from DTI, where I used to come from, and I said, good heavens, can you tell me? And then there's another guy. He exports to 42 countries. I think you know him. He went to a 3-day conference all on this. And he said, good heavens, good heavens. I export to Thailand, Vietnam. Good heavens. They actually don't know what they're doing. So actually, Mr. Oñate, you will testify today, even though you don't swear, that I've informed you that just as information has improved because you got private sector consultants who experience it, that in the next month we are meeting, and Mr. Emil Javier, whom you know, he also is in this. He's in my college is Alyansa Agrikultura, Philippine Chamber of Agriculture and Fisheries, which is agribusiness with 48 sectors now, and the camp, which I call the Los Baños Mafia, all over. They said, and I got them to look at the hearings here, at the hearings in DA, and they said, you know, they actually need external experience. So they said, and please don't just ask your very renowned UPLB guys because they're still a bit academic. You must go to Lancoma and all that. And I said, don't forget Federation of Free Farmers Cooperatives. You must get the people outside and not have this internal intercourse means conversation, internal intercourse with the guy outside. So, sir, in the area of cooperatives, let me say this. This has been long waited since 2010. It's 2025 now. Both are not done, but finally we're going there. But it is not enough because all this talk in this hall is useless if you do not get those laws passed because we've heard too much rhetoric and too little reality. And for me, it is sad that the people who are supposed to have agriculture are not steeped in the municipalities. They out from their air-conditioned offices. They give the budget. They don't have the budget. It's used. For example, agriculture. Why is it? I have said this. I've said this. 30%. Why aren't you doing anything about it? Why not?
What
Why
is
not?
30%?
30% of all projects we monitored. Okay, let me tell you this.
Yes, yes, I
We,
understand. Go ahead.
we're given money only for 10% of the projects. 10% of projects. Of 200 million is for me is ridiculous. That's why Mr. Montemayor, I support him fully because he said, can you stop a lot of these meetings and get on to your main job, which is, well, recommending. And of course, to be honest with you, some do not reach the right places. And the second one, of course, is that the monitoring is so limited.
Good.
So let me summarize.
Yes,
I'll
please.
finish now, right?
Yes, please.
I talk here not about details. The details are better known by people like Mr. Montoya. Of course, we have some others we can give, but I'd like to challenge and request and perhaps plead that today becomes a landmark that after 2010, when we heard nothing in full support of these two areas, it will happen now. So, Senator, I know you're the chair, but you need to get that Senate to back this up. Because if we don't get those two groups done, it is the same thing as 2010. It's all talk and not much action. And so we'd like to let you know this. We support you fully. We've always supported you. When you were in agriculture, you did fantastic things. You left us for a while. Now we're back. And we like to say this. Welcome back to the leadership that we long for in agriculture. Thank you.